Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to the August 2023 reading for the Monterey Bay Poetry Consortium. My name is Kent Latham. I'm the coordinator for this series, and I'm honored to host today. As our usual MC, Bob Nielsen, had a family commitment and couldn't join us. As many of you know, the Monterey Bay Poetry Consortium is a community of poets and poetry lovers in, from, and affiliated with California's Central Coast region, from Big Sur to Salinas to Santa Cruz and beyond. We are the oldest continuously running literary series around Monterey County, going strong for about 30 years now, and carrying on the tradition established by our founder and dean, John Lowy, who created this group as a local chapter of the National Writers Union. We are permanently grateful to his inspiration and his legacy. You are all welcome to befriend us on Facebook at the Monterey Bay Poetry Consortium if you haven't done so yet. And you can enjoy hours and hours, and actually at this point, it's going to be days and days of recordings from our past more than 3 years of readings on our YouTube channel. We don't have quite all of them up yet, but they will be getting there eventually. They're all yours to enjoy. More excitingly, this is our 40th and hopefully final Zoom-based reading for the consortium. Prior to COVID, our series met in person each month for many years at Old Capitol Books in Monterey, and we are eternally grateful for their support and patronage, and encourage you to support and patronize them. Buy the books off their shelves, chat with them. They're wonderful people. We really adore them. Even though we're not coming back to that location, we will always be grateful to them. Meanwhile, since March of 2020, we've been online here, and although most of the world was glad to abandon Zoom years ago, we're thankful for this platform's ability to expand our network to include readers and audience members from across the country and around the world, as well as providing safe and inclusive access for everyone. I know that today we have folks from as far as Michigan and Minnesota, and we're really glad they could join us. With that said, our team has finally decided that it's time to return to an in-person physical format as we move forward. And so I'm extremely excited to announce that beginning next month in September, our series will meet on the second Saturday evening of each month, rather than the second Sunday afternoon, at the beautiful and recently remodeled Pacific Grove Public Library. Our first in-person event will occur on Saturday, September 9th from 5:30 to 6:30, and will feature the poets Adid Medina and Adela Najarro. We hope you'll join us. But there is no need to jump that far ahead just yet, because today we are going to hear from two absolutely phenomenal poets that I'm deeply honored to call friends, as well as former faculty colleagues from my own time at Cal State Monterey Bay. Both are joining us for their first time here at the consortium, and both have beautiful new books out. So excited for these. We're just so glad to be able to celebrate them today. Each poet will read for about 25 minutes. Our tradition is to go alphabetically by last name, so Rachelle will go first, followed by Pilar. I'll introduce each of them before they share their poems. So without further ado, sit back, get comfy, enjoy a cup of something tasty, prepare to immerse yourself in some truly beautiful, provocative, and stimulating poetry. All right. Rachelle Escamilla is a Chicana poet from the Central Coast of California. She has been the founder of and performer in a number of creative writing and poetry programs in the US and abroad, including being a producer and host for the longest running poetry radio show in the US. And most recently, she was featured at BAMPFA, the City of Asylum in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a collaboration with global jazz singer Alexia Bontempo and poet Eileen Miles. Rachelle was also a visiting scholar at the Library of Congress, where her poetry was recorded for the library's audio archive Palabra, and where an article about her grandfather's testimony to Congress regarding working conditions for migrant workers was published. She's also taught poetry and writing workshops at Cal State Monterey Bay for about a decade. Rachelle is the author of 3 collections of poetry: Imaginary Animal from Willow Books in 2015, which is now available as a second edition, with a foreword written by the Chicano poet Manuel Paul Lopez. Me Drawing a Picture of Men, Me Meet Men, from Willow Books in 2019. And most recently, Space Junk from the Heavenly Palace by Nomadic Press, from Nomadic Press, which was just acquired this summer by Black Lawrence Press. So if you were looking for fresh distribution copies of it, go to Black Lawrence. Rachelle looks forward to shifting into nonfiction in the coming years, and to facilitate that transformation, she has just been awarded the 2024 Denis Diderot Grant for acceptance to the Chateau d'Orcevaux I'm probably saying it wrong, forgive my French, artists and writers residency in Champagne-Ardenne, France, which is described as being one of the top 10 most beautiful residencies in the world. Congratulations, that's a phenomenal honor. You can read more about Rachelle on her website, www.poetita.org, poetita.org. Rachelle, over to you.
Thank you, Ken. It's nice to see you again. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm just going to read through my poems. They don't have titles. The collection, Space Junk from the Heavenly Palace, is constructed much like my other collections, which I intended to be read from beginning to end, with plot lines, characters, and so on moving through the poems. So I'm going to read it that way. But as for context for this collection, I was standing at Marina State Beach, and it was a new moon, so it was very dark out. And I was there with a lover, and suddenly something started falling out of the sky, and it was terrifying. It looked like a missile or a rock, and then couldn't figure it out, and then it disappeared. And then I asked my partner at the time what he thought it might be. And since he was into aerospace, he looked it up and he said, oh, well, it looks like a piece of the Chinese space station just fell into the Pacific. So most likely that's what you saw. And the space station is called Tiangong, but translates into the Heavenly Palace. So that's the title of the book, Space Junk from the Heavenly Palace. And the collection was written in a 6-month period. So all the poems are compressed into about 6 months pre-COVID, right before COVID hit. In fact, one of the poems in here was published the week of the shutdown in Monterey County Weekly. And yeah, it's about love and cell phones, and distance and sadness. And yeah, so I'll get into it. It isn't that the octagon gets in the way of my body. It's that you are just far enough away to be something like a planet. All of my desires are tempered by time and elementals like laundry and deadlines. All I want to do is drive to you, silently enter your bedroom, and give you all of my earthly blessings, my endlessness, my empty. Our escape into ourselves is revolution. Our survival speaks. I am not a witch or a revolutionary. I am just a poor brown woman who found you amongst the dying embers of this moon. When the sun bore you into being, it forgot to tell me. Here I am, writhing, sin-soaked, and begging to be rebuked. You see, they punish me because I see. They lie and ignore my utterances, but not you, my demigod. You see my freshly shaved moon, my ornate planetary objects, my dark matter. This is not a game. This is the only life we have. I am a galactic nomad, my darling. In another life, we could have been, our house would have been. We could enter and exit rooms together and not. Our time was greens and blues, coffers with black tea and conchas. But this space-time continuum dumped itself onto us, and we have been in chaos. How is it that I'm with you, I'm not in chaos? There's no undoing the part about time, you know. It will go, and so will we. On this sandy memory, I'll always have you. Something like the perfect blue sky through a wide-leaved ornamental tree. I thought time would move me, stir this cuerpo, but even in the solitude of this spaceship, in the minutia of inventory, in the empty of this cargo bay, I think of you. How can you exist when I am here alone? all of this ocean between us, sharp as still glass breakers, chromatic swell, no shore. A veces, yes, sometimes you are so right. I can't tell the difference between the sky and the rows of plastic over dirt in Salinas. We are people. Someday you must live sleepless like me. This one was published in Monterey County Weekly right before the shutdown. Someday you must live sleepless like me, so you can see the way the ocean granite lights up in the early morning moon. And how do I explain the pattern of the redwood sorrel and their ethereal purple petals? I live beyond this galaxy. I cannot walk a path without you on my mind, without your eyes, the same color as displaced mud mezclada con mica, the way my whole self slips into your mouth like toes in creek drag. This breeze is for you. The collapse is coming. Time and temper. Coyote bush and chaparral with sunlight, soft sagebrush and streams of mica. Now I know it isn't you, it's me, my beaming self. I would have loved you for 1,000 lifetimes, but I'm back now, boots on solid ground, no more agony with every nothing nor wretched desperation, places you said we'd see, your golden mouth lies. Oh, but the licking. And so this is what life does. It dulls the senses. It says, Rachelle, you're a person, not a fire, not a star, not an endless, not a pain, not a void of pain and sorrow and struggle and brick walls. And you're just a man I could have loved, with everything a woman like me has, with voltas and verbs. I left the cosmic coastline and came to form just south of Monterey. I thought I'd leave the cosmic coastline and come to form, but I was pulled back by the native thistle, the browning leaves and pelicans who almost seem communal. I know once I leave this shore what I face. Maria Juarez dead at 18 months from a preventable respiratory illness. A baby boy denied a diaper because Border Patrol said he's too old to have one. We are ancient, the saga, the poet, and so isolate. Come to the river with me is sound. This place where love is sound. Form with me, the rock facing north is form. Hard dirt is form. Cry at the pebbled shore is sound. Me in my most natural form is form. Me in the crook of your arm is form. I admit it. I'm afraid of reality. Some unknown took our movement and broke the syllogism. That's bound to happen. I tried to find you in the city, but there was no sky. And when I was in the sky, I looked in the skyline, but it doesn't matter. Your you is so sparse now, and the palpitations are slowing. And there are things like, I don't know, that just take you from me. Things that not even my wet pussy in occupied territory, not even the end of the world can bring you back. No smiles and blinks in rapid succession, no legs and toes, no curated ass shots or syllables crafted so carefully for your eyes can draw you back from your boundaries, where for enough time I walked a line offering you my brown body inside out. How do I create time in your heavenly palace? In this light, all things brown are more beautiful. In this light, all things brown are as if our sadness and beauty is measured in glassy gray skies against chronic ocean. And the dunes are greener, and the yellows of the turned fields are more yellow, and even the invasive ice plant thick with purloined limbs shimmer in this morning's blessings. My sorrow exists for me to exist. My sorrow exists for me to exist. My sorrow exists for me to exist. The barracks with boarded windows are weathered and will be torn down. Someday, someone will build new homes over my body, and the ghost of you will only exist in text and sky. But I loved you for a time, and you burned every synapse, and my feet hurt. But limbs are also memories. You are not a god. That is to say, I don't have to burn my body to receive you. There is no falling because we do not edge on the silver of stars or mirror the dark empty of they who tore me limb from limb and they for whom all of the candles succumb. I lived in the chaos of that thing that gods are good at, but not you. I saw the miner's lettuce today and the bush lupine. I thought I had nothing of you, but you gave me this poem. This thing that I thought was dead, this thing that okay. I'm gonna move forward through the book a little bit. Thank you for listening, everyone who's here. I appreciate you being here, and thank you, Ken and Pilar and everyone else who made this happen. It is not my light that burns. It's not my light that burns, it's the non-light they ever had. It's the traveling through land that changed hands with babies huddled in arms, and who knows if they even wanted those babies. It is not me who wakes up with the morning stars and jumps to work to expel this endless stream of all bodies, of all the bodies, of bodies, of all the bodies, of bodies and bodies of all the bodies, like mine and not like mine, but mostly the ones whose world is rotten with obligation. I cannot empty myself fast enough for all of their desires to run through me. I don't drive in the wind and follow mountain paths and look for the center of the universe for me, not for me. I escape because they need escape, because they called me to this life they couldn't live, the lives they lost crossing the desert or the river or the stagnant lives of a detention center holding cell. How does a brown body exist in a world of white? Always beneath? Always beneath? So, morning stars, coastal granite, poison oak, I come to you as a vessel of multitudes, as absolutely nothing. Okay, I'm going to read a few more poems and then I'll hand it over. I went to the river. I went to the river, I saw the gust blow through the trees and drop the leaves like petals, yeah, like petals. The river said, if you just listen to the sound of the pebbles and the stones on top of the red sand, and if you just listen to the tide going out, you can hear enough music to fill your glass and a few others. She said, go find the place where the salt and fresh water mix. So I did. The river said, hold on to the blanket with two hands because the wind is blowing. Said, you can play in the wind. Said, but hold on to the blanket, she said. Put the blanket down when you're done. Sit and rest, mija. Eat something, mija. Go home. We are all ruins. We are all ruins, daughter. Like the jade cove on the coast, sandstone, sunburned lupine pods, molcajetes etched in granite. Go, 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 mamas. Put the petal you picked on ancestor rock. Pray, mamas, pray. I'm gonna finish with this poem called La Llorona. In my culture, well, I don't know how old this story is, but La Llorona is a woman who cries by bodies of water. And it is she is somewhat a mythological character, and also somewhat a literary character. She just lives on in stories that come from either Mexico or indigenous South American culture, and also Chicano culture. And so there's all these variations of La Llorona that exist. I remember when I was a child, the story my grandmother told me of La Llorona was that that she foresaw that the boats with Hernan Cortez came into Acapulco, and La Llorona saw the boats, and she knew, like, she could foresee, she knew that it was going to carry conquerors and that all of the women and children would be raped and killed. So La Llorona, in order to save her children, killed them in the river, drowned them in the river. But then for the rest of her life, because she ended up living a long life, cried by every body of water looking for her dead children. And so this is a story that Mexican families and Chicano families tell their children, I suspect to keep us away from drowning in bodies of water, because we're so scared as shit to go by a body of water, because there might be La Llorona going to grab us to the depths of hell. So we stay away from those. But most Chicana poets have either a poem about La Llorona or Malinche. And it's just sort of like they're tropes in our work. And so I wanted to pay homage to La Llorona. So I'll finish with this poem. La Llorona. We used to be wolves. And then they blamed Malinche for our mixed up shit. I know why she drowned her babies. Who would wish a life in cages of girls who only know where they are by the designs in the stucco ceilings? Babies passed around at Disneyland. Girls face down dead in the desert. Daughters living under the bodies of men. Trapped mothers forced to police skirts. What did she hear when the she-wolf grabbed her babies and said, I love you, so I will kill you? The sound of a horse? The breaking of a branch? Was it all in her head? Who am I to judge the woman who cries for her children by bodies of water? Tell me, what do I do? The rules of my culture are eaten by other cultures, and all of the cultures are ruled by men. Cry to me. How do I keep her from drowning? Thank you.